I'm here in central Mexico and I want to know how much does food cost in Mexico. I know there's been similar videos made in the past, but I promise you this one is different. So in this video, I'm gonna do an actual grocery shop for my personal week of groceries, my food. But I actually started filming this video a few weeks ago back in Canada. While I was in Canada, I went and did a grocery store shop for some very specific brand items. And now while here in Mexico, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna look for those same brand items so we can compare apples to apples, or perhaps bananas to bananas. Now, as my viewers know, I've been in Mexico for some time, and so I have a vague, maybe a bit more than a vague idea of what the result will be, and I promise you, I think you're going to be surprised with the results. Shopping's done. Let's head home and see the results. Okay, well, welcome to my kitchen. We'll have a look at what the cost was for my weekly grocery shop, but first, let's have a look at the item-specific comparisons. And before we get started, I have some good news and some bad news. So the bad news is that I couldn't find all the same brand name items for the price comparison, but the good news is that for the products I couldn't find exact matches for, I do have a good comparison. To compare the prices, I'm going to provide the price per measurement because a lot of the packaging was a different size, but I can easily divide the price by the weight, the volume, or unit. So for some items, I'm going to give prices in 100 grams, kilogram, or per liter, whatever made the most sense for the specific item. Also, I did the shopping in Canada and in Mexico, but I'm going to include the US dollar conversion as well. People in the US can see and leave a comment if the prices are a big difference from where they are. I'm sure some of the prices are going to surprise you, so let's get started in the fresh produce section. So tomatoes were almost 3 times cheaper in Mexico compared to Canada. Papaya was nearly half the price in Mexico, but the quality or the ripeness of the fruit was very visible in Canada. A head of lettuce was shockingly more expensive in Canada at nearly $5 a head. In Mexico, only $1.42. Potatoes are less expensive in Mexico. Bananas were basically the same price, which I find a little odd. Of course, the bananas aren't as ripe in Canada. Frozen berries are a lot cheaper in Canada, more than half the price compared to Mexico. A can of corn is cheaper in Mexico. Bread is cheaper in Mexico. Butter is cheaper in Canada. Peanut butter is cheaper in Mexico, and so is strawberry jam. Instant oats are cheaper in Mexico. A dozen eggs are cheaper in Mexico by a little more than $1 per dozen. Coffee, cheaper in Mexico. Kraft dinner, or the equivalent, is cheaper in Canada. A can of tuna is cheaper in Mexico. Rice is cheaper in Mexico. Pasta is cheaper in Mexico. But pasta sauce is a lot cheaper in Canada, so I think I'm going to start making pasta sauce from scratch or beef it up with fresh tomatoes. Tomatoes are a lot cheaper in Mexico, so it makes sense to just make it myself. Hot sauce. Frank's is more than $1 cheaper in Mexico, so you can put more of that shit on everything. Mustard, cheaper in Canada, but mayo is cheaper in Mexico. And so is ketchup. Skinless, boneless chicken breast is cheaper in Mexico. And a whole chicken is less than half the price in Mexico compared to Canada. Celebration cookies from Canada are twice the price in Mexico. Coke Zero, priced at 100 milliliters, is slightly cheaper in Canada. Heineken beer is $1 less per bottle in Mexico. And of course, there are cheaper beers to drink, but I wanted to compare an international beer. Crest toothpaste is the same price. Dish soap is cheaper in Mexico. Pledge furniture polish is cheaper in Mexico. But Tide laundry detergent is cheaper in Canada. Toilet paper is a lot less expensive in Mexico, and for the good kind. So it's an interesting comparison because some of the items are more expensive and some are less expensive. I want to make a sense of some of the cheaper prices in Mexico because the food is grown locally. The cost of labor is less and for other reasons. But why are bananas the same price? Or why is a head of lettuce so expensive in Canada? Another thing I noticed that I found very interesting is that with a couple exceptions, the food that was more expensive in Mexico was food that is generally less healthy. Kraft dinner, cookies, Coca-Cola, prepared pasta sauce. Frozen berries were a lot more expensive in Mexico, but that kind of makes sense because they don't really grow here. I mean, there are a few regions like in Michoacan, but for the most part, berries are imported. Okay, so what did today's shopping cost me? I'm not going to give you a breakdown of everything I bought and volumes, but these are my groceries for the week and include a frozen fillet of salmon, a New York steak, 2 pieces of boneless, skinless chicken breast, and some beef cut that I can use for tacos. I also have a bag of pasta, a dozen eggs, some shredded cheese, fruit including kiwis, bananas, papaya, and coffee. I was going to get some broccoli, but it didn't look that great, so I'll go through the week and pick up a couple extra veggies. But I did get an onion, a few potatoes, and some mushrooms. My total for the week in Mexican pesos was 1,437 pesos. That's 102 Canadian dollars or 76 US dollars. So basically, a single person can buy enough food for a week for approximately $100 Canadian or 75 US. So food, less expensive in Mexico. I could save more money if I shopped at cheaper stores, went to farmers markets, didn't buy food that my Canadian diet likes, like teriyaki sauce, for example, pasta sauce. But I like the food that I like. And for $100 a week, I don't think I could eat the same food in Canada for the same price. Anyhow, let me know what you think. And for my American viewers watching, give me some sense of these costs. Would this haul cost less than $75 where you are in the States? I'd really like to know what the cost of living for food is where you live. Thanks for watching.